2 inches of styrofoam might be.
That might do the trick.
Yeah, that might do the trick.
Goodness.
Good evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started. We might have a few more folks join us, but that's okay. For those of you I've not met before, my name is Brian Williams. I am the current HOA president. Our current HOA vice president, Hillary Hatcher, is here to my right up front, and our current treasurer is back here in the back, Matt Hendricks. The three of us have served as your officers for this past year, and as you know and have seen already on the agenda, that's one of the agenda items for this evening is the election of officers and section leaders. So we'll be doing that. One other quick welcome. We tried this last time with the Facebook Live, and it was very successful. To date, we've had over 200 views of the HOA meeting. So we think that's certainly positive in terms of another way to reach people in the community. Folks that might not be able to get out of the home because they've got children or they work a different shift, etc., are able to view this either in real time or come back later and view it. And so if there are people that you know in the neighborhood that might not receive some of the communications, make them aware of that, that's another way that they can view the HOA meetings and participate in these meetings. So we welcome those folks that are watching this as well. We're going to jump right into the treasurer's report. Matt, if you want to come up here, please.
Yes. All right. Treasurer's report. We are at the last meeting of the year, so the print has gotten very, very small if you can actually read this. So we began the year with $9,881. As of current day's total, we're at $13,245. Our total income for the year has been $85.54. That's up a couple $1,000s from what we did last year, and that's with less people actually paying their dues. We had 144 people last year pay. This year we're at 137. But the breakdown of what people are paying, since we asked people to volunteer to pay more than the minimum of 40, and about half of those people responded and paid more than the $40. So the breakdown is on the right of how many people paid what different amounts. And about half those people paid additional, and that's why our income is up, even though our participation is about 7 households down. Expenditures since the last meeting, there's been a couple of website expenditures for our hosting. We did have to pay Steve Entries back for something that he had paid earlier. Our electric bills run right about $300 a month. Those have all been combined now into one bill for the street lights as well as the entrance lights. They used to come on separate bills. And then we just recently cut a check for Green Acres Lawn Care, who did the maintenance on our entrances, put new pine straw down, and did their fall maintenance. So that's all I've got. Does anybody have any questions over the financial?
My question is, what did we get for that $710?
Right.
This front entranceway looks like crap. There's weeds still growing up.
Right.
They don't know the difference between flowers and weeds. I think you better be looking at somebody else. Putting pine straw, that's a lot of money to put down for all that.
We would love any recommendations.
Absolutely.
And now's a good time to say this for
Well, we
folks
used to
that
have
watch.
volunteers that took care of the entranceway and it looked nice.
So we would love, Gary, if you want to head up a group to volunteer, we'd love that. If anybody else does, we'd love that. I would say input on any viable lawn care service would be great. We've struggled with that, obviously. And or if there are people that want to volunteer their time to do that, that would be wonderful as well. We'd be happy to organize that. But help with that in terms of identifying a viable service that will do it for the dollars that we've got to pay them. Absolutely, please make your recommendations. Please, 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 we'll take them.
Why does the rear entrance look so much better than the front entrance?
I can't speak to that specifically.
You're the president. Who would do it? Is a volunteer doing that?
No, the
Well,
service is doing it.
There's flowers there, but there's none at the front entrance to speak of. It looks sad. And I've lived here many years, like a lot of these other people, and I've never seen the entrance in the front look as bad.
I actually think that flowers take more maintenance than just shrubs, because they need to
Low
be
maintenance
deadheaded,
shrubs.
sometimes they fall over, they turn brown. I'd much rather just see some shrubs that are just there year round, that
Yeah.
require a minimum
Right.
of
Low
maintenance, than to
maintenance.
have flowers. It's not my front yard, it's my front entrance, and, so.
Well, I know that's when we had it redone, that's kind of where we were going, so we had less maintenance, but those are really young plants, they're gonna take a while to grow.
Plus, we've been in a drought. It's impossible to keep things looking good right now.
We have,
The weeds
we
in the
have
grass.
people who volunteered to water and those, so all they do is water. So the drought has nothing to do with it. The water used to, entrance used to be watered quite regularly.
According to Gary up here, Debbie, you're wrong. Drought has nothing to do with it. You should raise your voice if you're gonna call people out, Gary. I'd appreciate it. Any other comments
Does anybody
about-
have any additions to the financials? And anybody move to accept these?
I move to accept this.
Second? Accepted, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Matt. A couple of updates. Hillary sent out an email, I believe, and there might have also been something in Nextdoor about some information she received about new fire ratings. In case you haven't heard that, because of the new firehouse that's on Goose Creek Bypass, our neighborhood has a new, I think it's ISO rating. I called my insurance provider and they made that change without any verification from me on that. I've spoken with at least one other person who called their insurance provider, and their insurance provider said that they would need some type of letter from the fire department. And so that sounds like that might be an insurance to insurance provider issue as opposed to a fire department issue. But if someone's got more information,
Yeah, not all insurance companies actually use that rating. My insurance company is State Farm, and they do not use that, so it doesn't make any difference on my rates at all. But, so make sure you call your insurance agent and ask them what they do.
I was gonna echo that was the same, I work with State Farm, we had the same response.
okay.
Maybe we need to change.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other update, we will get, this was given to me this evening by Ellen Anderson, the update on some of the recent houses that have sold. There was a house, the house on 2209 Springdale, 2294 Henpeck Lane, and 2204 Collier. And she provides this information for us on the original sales price, what the home actually sold for, square footage, et cetera, et cetera. And so we'll leave this here for you all to look at, a hard copy, and then we'll get this out electronically to folks as well. But thank you for providing that to us. I think that's a helpful resource to people.
Do we know currently how many are on the market in the neighborhood?
Just one,
Just one.
and it's pending.
Is it really?
Yes.
Wow.
It was on for 31 days, and it's pending, and hopefully they'll get the price that it's on for.
Awesome.
Pretty good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We talked last time about the entrance, or the erosion at the entrance off of Lewisburg. We're now on the kind of list to get that addressed. It was determined that that was a county or a state road issue. We got sent to the Williamson County Department for the state. And got put on their waiting list. They know that it's something to be addressed, but because it's not critical in their world, which is fine, it's not really critical, I would say. It's lower on the priority list, but they have come out and looked at it. We're on the list. I've got a contact name and phone number to follow up in case it's too long, but that is happening. If you notice, I don't always go out that exit and come in that entrance. I actually use the Henpeck one more, and so if somebody notices something different with that entrance or exit, please let us know. It seems to be kind of holding where it has been, but actually being dry probably helps some of that. The water probably hurts it. Holiday gatherings. Debbie, do you mind to come up and just share quick? Debbie Cornett has volunteered to coordinate our holiday open houses this year, and so she's going to share just a little bit of information with you about that.
Thank you, Brian.
Stand over in front of that chair so she's got you.
Oh, that's right. So this year, like last year, we're going to have a series of open houses in the neighborhood. They can be any day of the week, any time between Thanksgiving and New Year's. Excuse me. It could be Thursday night, Friday, Wednesday, just really whatever works for you. You can do anything from having cookies and punch to appetizers, or just if you want to just decorate your house and have people come in, like an open house, it's like a meet and greet. As we know, we have lots of new neighbors with kids. It probably should be kid-friendly, wouldn't you say, Brian? That's a good idea.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
There were last time.
and it just would be an open house, maybe a couple hours. I think last year, how many do you think we had last year, Hillary?
I want to say we ended up having maybe 10 to 12.
Yeah.
It was
So we wanted to have a little more. You may have, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 20 people that come through. I'm not sure what to expect, but the main point is just to visit with your neighbors, get to know the new neighbors, and you can do anything you want to as far as snacks or heavy appetizers or nothing at all, but probably have something on hand. And if you would like to do that, I'll send an email out that kind of has a calendar on it. And if you'd like to do it, you can tell me. I'll put an email with my phone number and my email address, and I can give that to you now if anybody's interested.
and then we'll post the address for each date so you know where to go.
Yeah, and maybe say have something like put your light on or a candle or something like that in front. But my email address is djcornett, CORNETT, 525 @gmail.com. And so you can text me or call me or send an email. My phone number is 615-948-1150. Does that answer everything right initially?
You're welcome to have a theme too. I know one house last year did a game night, which was fun. They had games and different tables that they kind of started at the time of the open house. So
Yeah.
you can do it any way you want to do it.
It's fun because people, like Brian said last time, some people just want to come say hi, see what you've done to your house, see your decorations, meet people. So it's just a good way to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. We are also going to do our holiday caroling again this year. The first date that has been chosen is Saturday, December 17th. So if you're interested in joining at a minimum, me and my kids, caroling, because like I said, every time we'll be there, we'll go, we're going regardless. You're welcome to on that date. If we get more than enough, then we'll do an alternate date, and or if we just have more fun than we can possibly handle, then we'll do it a second time prior to the 25th as well. I'll ask again, I'll keep asking, and have already started to do this in other ways when I'm driving around the neighborhood, but if there's anyone specifically in the neighborhood that you know of that that you think that you would like for us to visit, or you think would benefit from that, please let me know that. I do not know everyone in the neighborhood, especially those that might be shut-ins or struggle to get out a little bit more than others. I might not necessarily know those folks or know those addresses, so please share that if you have it, and if you'd like to.
Ryan, I have one other piece of old
Yes.
business. So last time we talked about getting some people together to just check on some of our folks in the neighborhood who may be not able to get out, elderly shut-ins, and to have a committee to go around and check on those folks. I got busy in my busy season, which ends December 7th. I will throw out an email and a tentative date of December the 13th, just to come to my house if you're interested. We'll get together and see what that looks like, how often, who we can go visit. And it's really not a visiting thing as much as just checking in. Do you need anything? Winter's coming. Last year, I went and got groceries for some folks I knew couldn't get out of their driveway. So it's going to be that type of just community good service. So I will throw the email out, make a Facebook post as well. But a tentative date on that is December the 13th. If you're interested, let me know. I'll make sure to get your email and contact information.
Thank you, Matt. I think one of the final pieces of old business, unless there are more from the group, is I want to do a quick recap on the vote that we had in between our two HOA meetings. We had a homeowner within the neighborhood inquire about building a fence. They had an interpretation of where that fence could go that was slightly different than some of the interpretations that have typically been kind of held. We determined, and so this is the part that I really wanted to recap for everybody as to why we decided to bring this to a vote. We determined that since this is a voluntary HOA, and that it is made up of people who choose to be a part of this community, that it made sense to give you all a voice in that decision and not have that decision be made by the three of us as an interpretation of those covenants. We felt much more comfortable having the group have a say in that decision, and I think that bore itself out. We got lots of good input as a result of that process. We've actually had someone who's now going to volunteer with the HOA as a result, I think, of that process. And so that's kind of the impetus of why we decided to put that out for a vote, as opposed to just have the HOA officer say, this is what we think is going to happen, and therefore we move forward. I think that you all know the decision that was made in terms of where the decision that was made is that the fence is going to remain where it is, not to come out further than the house, closer to the road, and that's how people voted. And so that kind of puts a bow on that, as it relates to right now. So, any other questions about that?
It's very clear that it's in the front yard, and the county even said that. Your front yard, you can ask the realtor, is not the side yard is what's on the side of your house, not anywhere in front. That's clear.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have one quick question.
Yeah.
Because we got all sorts of candy for Halloween. We were expecting like 32 or 33 people and 3 hay rides. We only got 12 or 13. So what happened?
So with like the hay rides and Halloween and whatnot?
Well, we just expected more people. And we really haven't had that many people except for the previous year. And we expected a lot this year.
Yeah.
Before that, we had 3 or 4 people.
I think so the number of people that participated in the hay rides, I would say, was probably 50 kids. Is that right? Somebody help me who was also there?
We filled 3 full trailers.
Probably 50 or so kids. What I think every adult there realized as we kind of set out on this adventure was that we hadn't really mapped out where we were going to go, and so that got pretty sporadic pretty quickly, and people kind of broke off and did their own thing, et cetera, et cetera. And so there are definitely some ways that we can improve upon that hayride. I can't speak to why a smaller number would have not come to your house specifically. Because we were on Isaac, yeah.
Yeah, 2 houses down, and my wife put out a nice display and everything with pumpkins and everything. We just didn't get the expected.
I don't know. Those hay rides ended up on Isaac, but like I said, it was that was a little bit more chaotic than I think we had intended. But good step in the right direction, and we'll improve upon it next year.
Thank you.
Yeah. Lots of participation, though. I mean, I think ways that we can make it better, but lots of good participation.
The house on top of the hill as you coming up from Henpeck had a nice lighted Halloween display. It was very nice.
Yes, they did. A really pretty one.
And I can assure you that I had a lot of candy left over too, and my husband is just eating like crazy. So I wish somebody would
It's an
come
epidemic.
to my house.
But maybe we can have trick or treat at Christmas time. What do you think?
You'll have it eaten by then.
Our next item on the agenda is our HOA elections. What you should have, raise your hand if you don't have one of these forms.
I'll grab it.
And yeah, just as a reminder, it's one vote per household. Sorry about that. You can see here under the role, if someone has been nominated, their name is listed.
They have accepted the nomination.
And have and have accepted the nomination. You can either circle that individual, you can write in a name, or I suppose you could not vote. But those are your three choices. So you can either circle that individual, write in a name, or not vote. Now, back to the top. We do not have any current nominations for secretary. And so we are coming to this meeting seeking someone to run for secretary. It pays a significant salary in monopoly money. It's monopoly money.
As does the Section 1 rep.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It pays even more, actually.
Yeah, Section 1 rep is an even higher paying monopoly money position.
Yeah, let's see, we were those for how many years going up.
So,
Section 4.
if I look directly into this thing, in all seriousness, if there is anyone that's viewing this either currently or in the near future and is interested in Section 1 rep or secretary, or knows someone that they legitimately think would want to do that, please nominate them. I was just going to say to the folks in the room, the responsibilities of the secretary specifically are to keep the minutes and then distribute the minutes, which is not a terribly complicated job. You can see what these meetings are. I mean, it's not terribly complicated to keep these minutes and then distribute them. That is a formal role because we are a formal entity, and so that's why we abide by all the appropriate rules in terms of having minutes and having these meetings, et cetera, et cetera. And so we need a secretary ultimately, but that role has been vacant for a while. That's really the beginning and the end of those responsibilities formally. Informally, obviously, as one of the officers, having a more significant role, more significant kind of responsibility around doing some of the work around the HOA and these meetings and organizing events and things of that nature. But that's really voluntary. The formal piece of the job as secretary is to keep the minutes and distribute those minutes. The section reps are primarily around communication, communication with the people on your street and or the couple of streets that represent your section, ensuring that they've got information and that they've got access to information. If they are someone that maybe is shut in, knowing that and helping us determine if there's something we can do to help in that particular situation. So it's primarily communication and knowledge, more intimate knowledge of that street or those streets where you're the section rep.
And Section 1 is Castlewood, Oakwood Drive East, and part of Bowman.
Thank you. Castlewood, Oakwood Drive East, and part of Bowman is Section 1. Any nominations for the secretary role? I saw my first crack in the armor. And I promise to build the wall. I don't think the secretary has that power.
I've always paid for it.
Thank goodness, yeah. Get Oakleaf to pay for it, I think. Are you, I feel like you're interested, I'm feeling your interest. We would love to have you
We'll
involved.
place your name in nomination.
I don't want to walk the streets again, that's stuff. I don't want to walk up that hill in Castlewood.
Well, you can ride bike.
It's not a big
I'm not
deal.
gonna twist too hard, but I might twist a little bit.
Not a big deal. All you gotta do is knock on doors and collect your dues.
I want to take a sidestep for a minute.
Yeah.
I just saw Danny Sokowski sign on. He has resigned from Section 2 after 2 years of service, but I want to say thank you to him. He's done
Yeah.
great in Section 2 the last 2 years.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. We can move forward without a nomination for secretary. We can leave that open, but it's been vacant for a while, and it is in our collective best interest to fill that. And so I might have a conversation with several people about that role afterwards, he says, staring at one particular individual.
Will it help if I move the camera?
Yeah, maybe. We're close. We're close. I'm just going to do this offline. Okay. So anyone for section 1? I don't even know. Anyone interested in the room that's part of that section or nominating someone? That feels even less likely. Okay.
Children and I did a pretty
If
good
so, please let us, if on Facebook or otherwise, when you view this, please let us know. Any other nominations for any other role before we move on? I think I do need to formally call for not, so any other nominations from the floor for any of the roles listed? Okay. If none, then if you've not already done so, you can vote. If you have voted, I would say just fold this up, and we can have somebody. Yeah, you don't mind grabbing.
We need some writing things.
Oh,
Oh, that would be.
yeah, that would have been helpful. Can I borrow you?
Yeah.
As we're collecting those, Debbie, I think it's got some up here. As we're collecting those, any new business?
I got a question to ask about.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Up, that house up there where all the cars are, where the totem pole is,
Yes.
what's the status on that?
So the question is about the home, and I can never remember that address, but the
2213.
2213 Bowman is the house in question. It's the house that actually has a totem pole type piece of artwork in the front yard, and we sent a letter to them specifically documenting the areas in which they were in violation of the covenants. We've spoken with folks at Codes and with the folks at Williamson County Sheriff's Department about whether or not they are running a business, are allowed to run a business, if they can do what they're doing there, etc., and have been told that they're checking on it and kind of run around a little bit.
Well, I did what you did. I went up, knocked on the door, said, you know what goes on here. I don't think this is allowed. And I said, cars parked in the grass. We're not supposed to have cars anywhere parked in the grass.
Yeah.
If you want to hide one behind the house, I guess, you could do that, but not where it's seen. Not supposed to do that. Even that house that put up the fence has still got a car parked in the grass.
We've requested meetings with them to no avail. And as I said, we have contacted both Williamson County Sheriff and codes, both, and will continue to do so until there is some response. And there is not only has the response been unsatisfactory, there really hasn't been much of a response at this point.
What if a tow truck showed up at the door and hooked up a couple of those cars and towed them off to the tow-in lot?
They'd
I don't
probably
know,
be
it's
in
not my
violation of doing
business.
something they should be doing, to be honest with you.
If somebody towed them?
That's right, you just can't tow something off private
Well, the
property.
sheriff could order that,
Do
couldn't he?
these
I don't
people
think so.
have a
Don't think
license,
so?
do they have a license, a business license, do they pay taxes?
I do not know. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, you know, we pay taxes to have a business
Yes.
in our home and no cars there. We pay taxes. We had to have a permit, all that kind of thing. Do they have that? Or do they have connections with the sheriff's department that they don't have to do that?
I-
That they get-
I
they
do
go
not
under
know
the
that
radar?
answer. That's why we have contacted, that's why we as the HOA have contacted the proper authorities to address that. What I'm saying is that we've not gotten a satisfactory answer from the authorities up to this point, but we will continue to pursue it.
I myself called the codes office, 4 weeks ago now, and I got this kind of a runaround, and, I also the sheriff's department, and I spoke to him about it, and, he said he would also speak to the codes people. I think what we need to do, frankly, is get that codes number, and somebody every week call this place. I have a friend who was running a similar kind of business out on Long Lane out here, way out in the country, about 12 miles.
And he was shut down.
And they shut him down. I mean, came out and served a paper.
And I mean, he was not
Yeah.
accepted issue.
Yeah, it wasn't. And yet they go to the trouble to go to there. Well, I can't understand why they can't do something about it.
Yeah, it seems odd to me as well.
I think we just need to put a
Which is
little
why I've
fire
continued
under
to
this
call,
codes
but-
department. I mean, it sounds like somebody knows somebody or something, to me, frankly.
I don't think they really care. To be honest, in my opinion, after talking with them, I don't think they give a flip.
Maybe right.
Well, I know it's an embarrassment, to have company, to have anybody come to your home on Castlewood to see that. It's not good, and there's gonna be a house come up for sale on Castlewood pretty soon, and that's going to be a problem.
Maybe we could get some.
Potentially a safety issue.
Statue out there, we might put limbs purple. TVA might come and cut it down.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I do have a question, because it seemed like when you initially sent out the letter, it improved for a short period of time. However, my question is, because they had that nice Christmas tree that they had all lit up all year, and then TVA cut it down, and then they put up the totem pole, did they get really pissed off and then sell the property to somebody else?
No.
Oh,
No.
they've been there for 20 years, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just asking.
Yeah.
But it seemed to improve for a short, very short period of time.
Other new business?
The lights on the entrance lakes, on the signs,
Yeah,
they've been
they've gotta
out
be-
since before the last meeting.
I had noticed that. I noticed them recently, and I went and
They've
looked
been
at.
out, trust me, I go through that entrance every day,
Well,
2 or 3 times.
when you do that, Gary, if you don't mind to let me know that, that would be great, since you go through there and you
Matt
notice
goes through
it.
the same one too.
Well, Matt and you can both help me. That would be a great help since you
Just
notice
need
it.
some bulbs, probably.
That I checked on it, and they seem to need more than bulbs. It seems to be an electrical issue.
Well, there's
It
power
might,
going over to that side of the road.
there seems, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Because when I was putting a sign up in Henry's yard, I did check that, because there's a breaker over there, and it was reset, and I checked the box, and there's power going over to that
You
side.
checked it within the last, I was out there on
Well, I went out
Thursday, or
just
Tuesday.
in the election, you know, so it's
Okay.
been within the last couple of weeks, whenever I put the signs in Henry's yard.
Okay. I'd love to compare notes, and anytime you're out doing that, if you want to let me know, I'd love to be able to, say thank you, and just know that work's happening. I appreciate it. I checked on those lights, and it seemed to be an electrical issue that might be slightly above my head, but I know that there are people in the room that can help with that. And so I'll enlist a few volunteers to help me take a look at those lights. Any other new business? I'm assuming there were no major surprises and or
No.
hiccups?
Everybody that was nominated was voted.
Okay.
Did your letter include telling people we have a restriction about parking cars in the grass and the house?
The
or-
covenants were provided with.
What's that?
The covenants were provided with the letters.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Going once, twice? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.